My name is Charles Davis, the Marketing Maverick, and I want to welcome you to the Ultimate Brand Strategy Design channel. This video is going to go through the strategies and techniques that are used in personal brand storytelling. You've seen these techniques with people such as Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Chris Do, Neil Patel. It's a particular technique that they use. It's called the Me Too technique. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some videos, and then we're going to come back, and then I'm going to tell you what you really saw.
I didn't do it. I did it when I was 14 years old, and 15 years old, and 16 years old, and 17 years old, and 18 years old, and 19 years old, and 20 years old, and 21 years old, and 22 years old, which were all the years that every single weekend, while my friends went to the Jersey Shore and hooked up with girls, while my friends went fishing, while my friends hung out and threw around the football and lived the leisure life, every weekend, every single weekend. Let me just say it one more time. Every weekend, every day, from the day I got out of school to the day I went back into school, every vacation day, all of them, not a good amount of them, every day from 7 a.m. to back then 8 p.m., every day, I was learning the wine business.
I mean, we weren't poor, we weren't poverty, right? I'm not complaining about the way I was brought up, because there's a billion people that came up way worse than I did. We had food, I had love, I had hugs, I had safety, I had direction, I had schools, I had a bike. My mom drove me I could either get on the bus or she'd drive me. Nobody was whipping me or beating me, or, there was not bad stuff happening. And I blew all that. So I had less money when I was 25 than when I was 15. How's that possible? So ended up with a drug problem, bad drug problem between 15 and 25 that I'm not proud of. And
I said, come on, God, man, I've been trying to make this dream come true. You done left me out here like this. And I was crying so hard that he just said, I didn't hear a voice or nothing, but he spoke to me, and however he said, if you get up, I'm gonna take you places you ain't never been. Now I was finna quit. So I said, skip it. I'm gonna quit anyway. So I got in my car, I went to a payphone, and I was gonna call my dad. You remember back in the day where you could punch in a code and call your answering machine and get your messages? So I called, and I punched in the code, and it said, doop. He said, hey Steve, this is Chuck Sutton with Showtime at the Apollo. We saw a tape of you. You're very funny. If you could get here Sunday night, we'd love to put you on television. Call me back, let me know if you can make it. So I hung the phone up, I'm crushed, because my whole dream of being on TV, and I couldn't get to New York. I got $35.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those little excerpts of personal brands telling their story. I'm a certified brand strategist, digital marketer. I have 30 to 40 years of experience in various aspects of IT management and creating and recreating my personal brand. Now, what you saw was stories being told of their personal life. If you ever watch their content, they will always drop in a component of their story. As example, if you ever listen to Gary Vee, we all know these things. Number one, he wasn't good in school. Number two, they said he was going to be a failure, even though he was sitting with $40,000, which is really amazing, under his bed as a child, selling baseball cards. With Grant Cardone, he talks about how he came from a normal family. He got caught up in drugs. He reclaimed his life, and now he is a billionaire. Then there's Steve Harvey, a very strong story where he is struck out pursuing his dream of being a comedian on TV, and he reached a point where he called out to God, and then all of these miracles started to happen. Those stories are what connect with their audience. It has nothing to do with who they are. It gets the empathy. It's like me too. That is the key to creating a personal brand story. Because in your personal brand story is going to be your demographics. They call it the blue sea, the purple cow. You hear a lot of metaphorical names for it. Within your story, that's the people you're trying to reach. You're trying to reach people just like you. You're going to talk about how you started, what was your pit moment, how you had to work through it, and what you've become today. Like in my case, I identified with Grant Cardone. I'm a recovering addict, and so I can identify with that story. Coming through a normal family, a good education, made a mistake, recovered my life, and now I'm living in Cebu, Philippines. I'm a digital nomad, providing personal brand strategy coaching services. But I also provide life coaching services, spiritual coaching services. All of these are based on my experience. Because even though you can get a personal brand strategy, how do you put all that together? And then what obstacles do you have to overcome? If you notice, a lot of people won't do a video. What are the psychological, emotional, and spiritual obstacles preventing you from being outgoing, outstanding personal brand? In my personal case, I was diagnosed as an introvert. As an introvert, adopting that label, that belief system, without real in-depth study, I would have stayed introvert. I wouldn't be on camera with you right now. I'm very self-conscious, but in order to become the extrovert, well actually I'm an ambivert, and I'll explain that, to be the person I am today. An introvert is not really an introvert. They are people that need better socialization skills. They needed to work on their confidence. And there are a lot of psychological things behind my story that led to my introversion. There's nothing bad about it. It's just that the death of my mom, I lacked some validation from my childhood, but then I latched on to technology because I wasn't a good athlete. I was real smart in school. I had a relatively normal childhood, and I struck out into the world, and just like in the Steve Harvey story, I have a similar background too. I stepped out trying to go back to school. I quit a government job. I was homeless, and I went to sign up for the CETA program. First time I went there, they turned me down. They didn't have any interview slots. Realized I had bus fare for one day. The second day I had to walk. You may not be familiar with this area, but it's from 31st and what's King Drive. It was South Park at that time in Chicago to 43rd and Cottage Grove. I walked the second time, and they told me they didn't have any slots available. I walked the third time, and when I got to the desk, they told me they didn't have any slots available. I stepped back from the desk. I said, okay, God, I need some help. The phone rang, and the receptionist talking to the person said, Joe, the interview is not here today. Would you like to see if there's someone here needing an interview? I'm standing right there hearing this lady say that. I step up and say, here I am. That's my true story. That's how I got into IT. Even though in high school, I had been programming computers since I was a sophomore in high school. I wasn't mechanically inclined, you know, with wood and stuff like carpentry, but I found what I was really good at, and I ran with it. That's how I got into information technology. I got into branding with a company named International Harvester. When they sold off the IH brand and had to go into Navistar, I was a part of that whole movement. So I do have a lot of experience in the IT field and the management field. How can I help you though? If you want to develop your personal brand and storytelling, there are going to be some links in the description that will help you. For instance, developing your personal brand archetype. It's vital that we get that right. What you're seeing right now, just to give an explanation, my personal brand quiz identifies me as a creative, adventurer, or innovator, and sage. We all have personal archetypes that we incorporate into our personality. It's natural. But which one are your strongest ones? That's the thing. We have to determine what your stronger ones are. Then you can determine how to tell your story. Click like and click share. Everything you're going to need, including the course materials, is going to come up on my website. If you go over and subscribe to the mailing list, as soon as the materials become available, you will receive an email. You may also like to sign up for an SMS message and be texted directly to your phone. Thank you.